On arrival, they got the church together and reported on their trip, telling in detail how God had used them to throw the door of faith wide open so people of all nations could come streaming in. Acts 14:27. When you look at the Bible from cover to cover, you find that the Lord meets man right where he is, in his comfort zone, usually in an unexpected place. And then God calls man to a great work that requires great sacrifice. God met Abraham on the mountain when he was ready to sacrifice Isaac, and he said, "Out of you I will bless the nations of the earth." God met Moses in the desert, and he said, "Lead my people out of bondage." God met David when he was tending the sheep and said, "I want you to lead my people." God met Daniel in the lion's den and said, "Have no fear." Jesus Christ met Peter by the water and said, "Come, and I will make you a fisher of men." Yes, God uses sacrifice to change lives. These men sacrificed, and oh, how God honored them and used them to change the world. The Lord wants to know what you are willing to sacrifice to be used by Him. Our story, the First Family Church story, begins on the running track of a local private school. Our pastor, Jerry Johnston, would come here when he was at home in Overland Park in between evangelical rallies. He would put on his running shoes and start his way around the Barstow track, and as he did so, he would pray. Well, God met Pastor Jerry on that track in the spring of 1996 and said, "Jerry, all I've used you to do for these past 20 years has been fantastic. Hundreds of thousands saved, many led back to me. All of that was to prepare you for the work I'm calling you to now. Jerry, I want you to build me a church in Kansas City. I want you to sacrifice everything so that I can use you to build something great." With that divine direction, Pastor Jerry then invited 50,000 Kansas Cityans to join him in a prayer meeting at the Leawood Town Hall about a new church start, the First Family Church. Just 2 people joined Pastor Jerry for that prayer meeting. But the Word of God says, if God be for you, who can be against you? Yes, it was a humbling experience, but God honors sacrifice. Along with prayer, Pastor Jerry realized that seed money would be needed to get First Family Church off the ground. Since all the Jerry Johnston ministry assets were completely paid off, Pastor Jerry decided to sell those assets and sacrificially give all the proceeds to the church startup, because that is what God had told him to do. With that sacrifice came a move from the nice, roomy Jerry Johnston Ministries headquarters to the tight confines of the Tomahawk Creek Apartments. Yes, the first office of First Family Church was a 3-bedroom apartment. Many meetings Pastor Jerry conducted with our early members took place in closets, bathrooms, and the kitchen of that apartment. But God honors sacrifice, and sacrifice changes lives, and thus a great church had begun.
Change is a chain reaction. When you change one person's life, that life is passed on to someone else, and they change another and another and another. And Christianity has grown through the years, not by addition as much by multiplication. And that begins by the change that Jesus Christ makes in a person's life.
It was September 22nd, 1996. Opening day had quickly arrived. Pastor Jerry had decided to rent the 1,000-seat Performing Arts Center of Shawnee Mission South High School. He later commented, "Only I would have been stupid enough to have my opening Sunday the same Sunday the Chiefs played the Broncos at Arrowhead Stadium at 12 noon. But God honors sacrifice. God uses sacrifice to change lives. And that first Sunday, 600 people attended the first service." Our next big move was to the historic Overland Park Glenwood Theater. It was quite a workout every Sunday to have our church moved out by the 1 o'clock matinee movie. But God honored the sacrifice of our people, and many came to Christ, and the small First Family Church began to grow. But we soon received the news that the Glenwood was to be torn down, and we would have to move yet again. Well, as you can imagine, when you're worshiping in a rented space, you are at the mercy of the landlord. So the joke around First Family Church became, come worship with us if you can find us. Movie theaters seemed to work well for our young church, so we moved to the Movies 10 Theater at 119th and Metcalf. The decor was movie theater purple and the floors were checkered. When you came in on a cold winter Sunday morning to set up the church, you almost got dizzy looking at those floors. And through it all, God continued to honor our sacrifice, and the church continued to grow. I remember Easter morning 1998, Dad and I conducted services, 7 altogether, to accommodate the crowds visiting FFC at the Movies 10. Preaching side by side with my dad that Easter morning is one of my fondest memories as a young preacher of the gospel. Then, no joke, we were told the theater was going to be demolished to make way for an office building. After that, not many movie theaters opened their doors to us. We will always be thankful to the Catholic community of Rockhurst High School for opening up the 967-seat Rose Theater to our evangelical church for services. And it was there at the Rose Theater that over $1 million cash was raised for the down payment on a beautiful tract of ground at 143rd and Metcalf, where we hope to someday have our own church built.